knows yet just how many bullets were fired, one after another, victim after victim. If you didn't see it live, a tense 2.5 hours, well, tonight's broadcast will cover a stunning series of events in our community with terrible consequences and talk of a chilling motive. At this hour, at least 2 are dead, and we know of several others in critical condition. This is the suspect, Ronald Taylor. His arrest came after a huge manhunt that brought scores of police and SWAT members into a large section of Penn Avenue for much of the day. And during the hostage and standoff phase, most fear centered on the children. Relief came late as police safely evacuated the third-floor daycare center from the Wilkins house. The little ones came out in a careful rush. Frantic parents had waited nearby for reunion. All of this started around 11:30 this morning. Let's begin our extensive team coverage with Jim Parsons, who stood and watched a great deal of it. Jim.
Scott, as you know, so many elements to this story today. A senseless series of shootings, apparently some kind of a racial motive. We had children involved in this. We had police officers ready to fire their weapons at a moment's notice, and yet, as we know, as much of a tragedy as this was, it could have been a whole lot worse, as we just saw those pictures of those children being safely brought out of the building. We're standing here at the McDonald's on Penn Avenue in Wilkinsburg. This was the scene where 3 people, according to Wilkinsburg police, were shot. The 3 of the 5 who were shot today. The situation started before the lunch hour, so let's take you back to where it all began. The shooting spree through Wilkinsburg started just after 11 a.m. Dozens of people found themselves caught in the line of fire.
Right now, they just told us to get out of the building. But we heard that somebody's been shot, that there's hostages. We don't know.
Some were forced to duck behind cars in this parking lot at the intersection of West and Penn. One witness came face to face with the alleged gunman.
And he said, well, I'm not going to hurt any black people. I'm just out to kill all white people. That's exactly what he said.
Police say Ronald Taylor began his rampage at the Woodview Apartments at 1208 Wood Street after a disagreement with maintenance men. He allegedly shot one of those men. Then he moved on to Burger King, where he allegedly shot one person inside. His next stop, according to police, this McDonald's.
He shot one person that was in the drive-thru in a van that was sitting there, and then he shoots the manager who was inside.
Police say Taylor also shot a third person at McDonald's. Fleeing there, Taylor holed up in the Penn West office building. Just above him, children from a daycare center trapped inside. Police eventually got the kids out. Terrified parents could do nothing but wait.
They came with their guns drawn, and they said, get out the building, and we ran out the building. I called the daycare to make sure my baby, they wouldn't let me go up and get my baby. That's what I was worried about. You know, the police wouldn't let us go in the building. My baby was in there for 2 hours almost.
Again, 2 people have been confirmed dead in this shooting rampage. 3 others listed in critical condition at UPMC. And Scott, I understand we have more team coverage on this event now with more about the suspect, Ronald Taylor.
That's right, Jim. We do indeed, and we'll get back to you a little bit later in this hour, so thank you for that. And we are going to have a lot more about the victims of these shootings, but we want to focus more intently right now on the suspect, Ronald Taylor. Ronald Taylor, who is he? What do we know about him, and where is he now? Paul Van Osdal is at police headquarters in Wilkinsburg, where several news conferences have been held this afternoon. Paul.
Well, what we know about Ronald Taylor right now, at least from police here, is not very much, although he is being held at the Allegheny County Jail. What we did hear just moments ago from Police Chief Gerald Brewer here in Wilkinsburg is just the trauma and the turmoil that police went through as they came upon this scene. Chief Brewer himself walking into the McDonald's where there were 3 victims down, at least several of whom had been shot in the head, one behind the counter, one in a car out front, one in the drive-through lane there at the McDonald's. That was after, of course, one individual had been shot at the Burger King and another individual had been shot over on Wood Street at his apartment. Now, police say a total of 125 people were evacuated from that Penn West office building, including 37 children. And it was a massive effort by police from many different agencies, of course led by the Wilkinsburg police here, but many other police were involved in coordinating this, and there was a hostage negotiator from the Pittsburgh police who was very instrumental in getting the suspect to surrender about 2 o'clock this afternoon. Now, as I said, we just moments ago heard from Police Chief Gerald Brewer about this whole incident. This is what he had to say.
It's very chaotic when you have that many agencies at a scene like that, when you have an individual that has hostages in the building and there is a viable threat. But everybody worked very well, and it was major teamwork by everybody concerned that kept this incident from getting any worse.
And one thing that Chief Brewer did emphasize was police used restraint in dealing with the suspect. They were shot at, several shots were fired at police officers as the suspect was going over to the Penn West office building from the McDonald's, and police elected not to shoot at him at that time, and Chief Brewer credited his officers with using restraint in trying to pursue the suspect. And really, he was not saying very much about what they know about the suspect, but we certainly will be learning more, I'm certain, in the next few hours. Live at the Wilkinsburg Borough Building, I'm Paul Van Osdal.
All right, Paul, thank you. Meanwhile, more tense moments for kids and teachers inside of a daycare center in the Penn West building that is right next door to all the action. Sean Yancey talked to parents. Sean.
Michelle, we're both parents with young children, so you can imagine what these parents were going through as they had to watch and wait and watch all this unfold. There were between 50 and 30 kids inside and their teachers stranded inside this building.
It was the last thing these parents expected when they dropped off their kids this morning at the Learning Tree School. Several hours into the standoff, police went in and were finally able to get their kids out. Rose Luster couldn't get to her two grandbabies fast enough.
Where are they? Where are they?
She left work as soon as she heard there had been a shooting.
I just want to see them, and I just want to hold them and tell them I love them. And then we're going home.
Linnell Brown was right next door in the Wilkins house. She was evacuated, but her 3-month-old baby was stuck inside the daycare.
I was just so worried. I thought my baby was going to die. I didn't know what was going on.
Carla heard the news on the radio. 2 of her children were inside the daycare center.
I heard students being hostage in a building, and that made me come down here as soon as possible.
What went through your mind?
Terror, anger, aggravation.
The good news, the children were apparently oblivious to the danger around them.
We were all in one room and everybody was lying down on the floor.
Daycare supervisor Barbara Williams said they were in constant contact with police.
It was kind of scary. Not very scary, but kind of.
What were
the children were very good, though.
All the kids were taken to a building across the street and checked to make sure they were okay. Relieved parents rushed in to see for themselves. A thumbs up from one parent, kisses from another, and all smiles from everyone else.
Yes, everybody's fine. Thank God.
And we were told there were kids from 6 weeks to 6 years old inside that daycare. Some parents told me they may just keep their kids home tomorrow and hold on to them and hug them. Reporting live from the newsroom, I'm Sean Yancey. Michelle, back to you.
Nice to see those smiles at the end, Sean. Thanks. Well, as you can imagine, neighbors couldn't get home. Patrons couldn't get away fast enough. A mix of fear and frustration all day. Nina Pineda is going to continue our team coverage now with more of the startling stories of those who came face to face with this man. Nina.
Scott, as we all have seen, several people had to be evacuated, several dozens of people caught in the line of fire. For some people, they were face to face with the gunman as he went into their office looking for a place to hide.
After spending a few terrifying moments crouching under police cover, people who escaped the doctor's office had an even scarier story to tell. The gunman, moments earlier, had threatened their lives.
Took the 3 of us in the back, and he said he has 1 bullet left, and which one of you 3 should I use it on?
He walked us back here, and he showed us that he had a gun, and he said, do you know how many people I just killed?
He made the receptionist walk in front of him, grabbing up others on the way.
This guy's going, come on, get going, let's go, back here.
He then held the gun to one woman's head.
Didn't hit her head, didn't touch it, but sort of towards her head. Then he said, no, let me terrorize you for a while, let me take you. And I think he grabbed her hand, and he pulled her. And then she said, no, please. And he dropped her hand, and he ran into this examining room 1.
He walked that way first, and then he walked to that door, stood there for a minute. That's when I looked around this corner. And then he went out there and shut the door, and that's when I knew we were clear enough to get out.
They got out fast, but had no idea who was left behind.
I know one is hiding in a bathroom now, one of our co-workers, but he had let her go. He told her, not you, sister, and Barb is black, and he let her go, and she went in one of the bathrooms to hide.
At this point, residents on the street are watching police as they move through their parking lot with their guns drawn. It turns out the suspect never made it past the hallway behind the doctor's office. The elevators were shut off, and police had sealed off all the exits.
If we would have known what he had already done, it would have been a lot worse.
There you could see some of the drama as it unfolded during the day. Those people were outside, had just been escorted out, and then took us back in to recreate the scene. They are all okay. We just came from that doctor's office. They were calling for crisis counselors, especially for the one woman who had the gun held to her head. Back to you.
You can imagine the terror of those moments. Thank you, Nina. We do want to update the conditions of the surviving victims. Again, 2 people dead, 3 people wounded in this, critical injuries. Ted Coppy is live at Montefiore Hospital in Oakland. And Ted, you heard from doctors just a little while ago. What are they saying now?
That's right, Scott. But within the last hour, doctors have wrapped up a news conference here. They say the first victim to arrive around 11:45 was the one that died here at UPMC. Another victim died at Mercy Hospital just across town. Now, the victim that came here, the first one, he was shot apparently in the lower throat, just above the clavicle. The bullet went into his chest, and that unfortunately killed him. He arrived with no vital signs, and they were unable to revive him. Shortly after that, 3 more victims did arrive, as you mentioned. They are all in critical condition. One underwent surgery. I'm told he came in. He's unconscious, comatose, as a matter of fact. A bullet went into his head, through his brain. Each of these people suffered 1 gunshot injury, either to the head or to the face. The other 2 really waiting to see right now that second victim who underwent surgery with the bullet in his brain. The doctors say his prognosis is not good right now. The other 2, they're simply waiting to see. Just like us, when this whole thing broke earlier today, doctors heard many rumors, weren't exactly sure what they were dealing with, so they went ahead and prepared for the worst.
As you may recall, when this incident was at its height, there were a lot of unknowns. We had no idea how many victims we were actually going to be required to take care of.
And doctors say getting 4 gunshot victims virtually at the same time is difficult, although this trauma unit obviously was prepared for much more. In fact, they were preparing at one time for 10 to 15 victims. Luckily, not that many. 50 people in all in the ER combined to help try to save all these victims. That's the very latest from UPMC. Reporting live in Oakland, Ted Coppy, Channel 4 Action News.
All right, Ted, thank you. We'll get back to Ted as well for an update on that. Now, we know then how this situation has ended, about the deaths, about the arrest. But how did it begin?
Let's turn our attention now to motive in this shooting spree. Sheldon Ingram has been checking on that. Sheldon, what do you know?
Well, Michelle, witnesses tell me that Ronald Taylor started his day with a bad disposition. He reportedly took out his frustration on maintenance workers inside the Woodside Garden Apartments where he lived. Now, one of the maintenance workers told me that Taylor became angry because they were not working fast enough while making repairs.
And then he looked at me and he says, "You're going to be dead."
John DeWitt is one of the 3 maintenance men Ronald Taylor allegedly threatened. Their crime? Taking too long to fix a broken door in his apartment.
Yeah, I see the shot. He was looking for me.
But he was actually looking for you?
Yeah.
To kill you?
Yeah.
He actually told you he would kill you?
He told me I'd be dead.
And I told him it takes 1 to 2 hours to do this work. And he started cussing out the maintenance men. Then he called me and left a few choice words on my voicemail.
Within minutes of that phone call, the building manager heard that the apartment building was on fire. Witnesses say Taylor shot 1 maintenance worker before he torched his own apartment.
He looked at Andy. Andy said, "Don't do anything. Don't do this. Don't cause a problem." And then he turned and shot Johnny in the neck.
He got mad at the guy, evidently, and shot him point-blank range in the neck on the roof. The same guy set the apartment on fire, apartment 503.
I found out then the contractors was shot, and the gentleman was on his way to McDonald's running, shooting people.
Taylor isn't known to be friendly by tenants familiar with him. Some say he has a reputation for complaining. You didn't come across as a friendly guy at all?
No. I've seen him on the elevator. I was just on the elevator with him the day before yesterday, and he didn't say anything to me, and I didn't say anything to him.
Now, the maintenance worker allegedly shot by Taylor is Johnny Kroll. Taylor lived on the 5th floor where the fire started, and all of the tenants evacuated from the building safely.
And Sheldon, what you heard fits with what we heard from the woman who found him in her living room, fits with what we heard from the people in the medical office, that he was expressing racial outrage as he picked his victims.
Witnesses tell me 2 significant things. Inside the apartment building, he confronted 2 maintenance workers. One was black, one was white. The black maintenance worker tried to talk him out of shooting anyone. He shot the white maintenance worker. When he went inside of McDonald's, another witness told me there was a white employee and a black employee. He said, "Excuse me," to the black employee, and then shot the white employee. Then he went around to the drive-through window and shot another person.
All right. Sheldon, thank you. We'll learn more about this. In all, we do have 8 reporters working on this story today. There is some other news of the day, so we will continue our coverage live from the studio and the shooting scene as the broadcast continues tonight. Jim Parsons will be back. Tonya Caruso will join us. More from the witnesses. That is coming up as we head toward 5:30. But we do want to look to some of the other things that we're covering today, including some of the meteorological conditions. A dreary day, really kind of mirroring today's events.
And Joe DiNardo is here now with more for us. Joe?
Well, we did have some of the activity around the area. Started out very nice. Early this morning, we had some cloud cover. That moved on through with a few showers. then back to the cloud cover, and it's going to be with us for a while. Here's the latest satellite loop. You can see this activity moving from the northwest to the east-southeast. Take a look at the latest on live pinpoint Doppler radar. And there we have some activity now coming up on Swickley at the airport, also in through Beaver, Monaca, right in through the Aliquippa area and Ambridge area, and then northwestern sections of Washington County, all moving east. That activity that you see right now is light rain showers that'll be gradually moving on through. The surface map that's causing this activity, frontal system moved through just about 2 hours ago, continues to move east. That high-pressure center is going to dominate our weather pattern tonight and tomorrow with northwesterly flow, although you will notice a considerable drop in the temperatures over the next 24 hours. Right now we're 54. Our high today was 58. But you can see the 40s and shortly the 30s out to the west. So the forecast for this evening, still a few showers, 49 degrees during the evening hours. Overnight breezy with a sprinkle or flurry, and the overnight low 35 degrees. I'll be back later with a complete forecast. Here's Scott and Michelle.
All right, thank you, Joe. We are going to take a break here. Coming up, some of the other news of the day,
including the new highway link between Pennsylvania and West Virginia. Also, a grisly discovery in Penn Hills. A body is found at a fire scene. We've got more on that next.
Channel 4 Action News at 5 is everywhere. Live with Michelle Wright, Scott Baker, Consumer Watch with Wendy Bell, Chief Meteorologist Joe Donato, and Meteorologist Stephen Crawford. Right now, Action News at 5 continues.
Right now, some of the other news of the day. The call to 911 reported a trash fire.
But when Penn Hills firefighters put out the fire, they found the body of a woman, a stabbing victim, in the debris. This happened near Beechford Road and Blackador Avenue early this morning. A body set on fire in a pile of debris on a dirt road leading up to the East End Auto Wreckers. Penn Hills police and Allegheny County homicide detectives searched the scene for hours gathering evidence, but the identity of the victim is still unknown.
The victim was a young female, approximately 5'2" to 5'4", and very thin build.
We're investigating all missing persons reports from the past several days. Right now we have detectives en route to some local police departments to see if they have anyone missing.
Police are asking anybody with any information on this case to call homicide detectives.
A 6-year-old girl is home tonight recovering from a vicious attack by a pit bull in Charleroi. Shiara Moreshi of Bell Vernon was playing in the municipal park along the Monongahela River Saturday when the 8-month-old female dog attacked. The girl was bitten several times and knocked to the ground. The dog was later put to sleep and tested negative for rabies. The dog's owner, Stephen Chestnut, was charged with reckless endangerment.
Mr. Chestnut had been cited approximately a week to 10 days ago for having this dog in the downtown area when he was told not to.
Chiara suffered several puncture wounds and required stitches on her ear.
Fayette County is hoping that a 6-mile stretch of road will drive home dollars to the area. A portion of the Mon-Fayette Expressway that will eventually link Pittsburgh and Morgantown opened today. Our bureau chief, Christine Sorensen, joins us live with more. Christine.
Scott, this 6-mile stretch just north of the West Virginia border cost $140 million to build. You know, it just opened to the public 2 hours ago. We got an early drive-through this morning. These vehicles paved the way on this new section of the Mon-Fayette Expressway.
Oh, it's beautiful. It'd be nice to have it open.
And they paved the way for new development around the road.
It's the best thing happened to this corner of the state for the last 100 years.
The Fayette Industrial Park is already up and running. Area leaders hope it's only the beginning of people and businesses moving here with a quicker drive to Pittsburgh and Morgantown.
What we're looking for is people being able to move from Pittsburgh into this area and choosing this as a community to live because of cheaper taxes.
Both governors say it will help business in each state.
Suddenly it gives this Pennsylvania location becomes a lot more attractive because it's accessible from the south by an interstate.
Cars pay 75 cents to drive on the 6-mile stretch. Special weight sensors and dual drop machines make the tolls faster and easier. 12 miles of the Mon-Fayette Expressway are now open for driving, all of them in Pennsylvania. West Virginia is just beginning construction today on its link to Morgantown, a 5-mile stretch that's expected to cost $100 million. Drivers say it will also be a lot safer than these 2-lane highways.
You could go there right now, and the guardrails are tore down where the tractor and trailers, if they meet a car, they crowd the guardrails, and it's so tight that they tear them down. So it's bad.
Now, it's going to take several years to build that West Virginia side with 2 bridges and an interchange with I-68. Pennsylvania still has more than 50 miles to build, so it is going to be some time before the entire thing is connected. Reporting live, I'm Christine Sorensen. Back to you, Scott.
Step by step. Thank you, Christine. Flood victims can get low-interest loans from the federal government, but many of them say what they really need is grants. The Small Business Administration surveyed the flooded areas in Allegheny, Fayette, Greene, Washington, and Westmoreland counties. Officials estimate about 500 homes damaged, 2 mobile homes destroyed. Governor Ridge says more help may be needed.
Anytime Mother Nature deals us a tough hand, and again in 4 or 5 counties we got struck again, that's always an ongoing assessment. There are some programs out there that might be adequate enough. We may have to backfill it down the road, and I think it's a little bit too early to tell right now.
The Small Business Administration is offering loans for uninsured losses at interest rates from 4 to 8%.
Last night's commute home wasn't really too bad for South Hills residents, but today's morning commute, a nightmare. Just take a look at the view from Sky 4. With Glenwood Bridge closed for 7 months of renovations, commuters are forced to use 2 recommended detours, and both Carson Street and the high-level bridge were just jammed this morning. Miles of cars at a standstill, and hundreds of people are telling detour horror stories. Many are now looking for alternatives to the posted detours, and all we can say really is good luck. Right now, let's recap our big story. The Wilkinsburg gunman is in custody.
Our coverage continues on Action News. Right now, we'll take a break.
Women of all ages have special health care needs. Pregnancy and the birth of a baby are an exciting time. For 3 weeks, beginning March 4th, WTAE-TV will present a Woman Care series offering information on how to make this process rewarding and successful. We'll discuss topics like selecting a birthing site, comfort measures used during labor, and postpartum services. Woman Care, making our community healthier, one woman, one baby at a time.
Woman Care is brought to you by McGee Women's Hospital of UPMC Health System.
And right now we are continuing our team coverage of the Wilkinsburg shooting spree.
Our news crews are learning more about the suspect, about the victims, about the circumstances. If you are just joining us, 2 are known dead, the other victims critical. And 2.5 hours after it began, police finally took the suspect into custody. He is Ronald Taylor, a Wilkinsburg resident. The shooting spree going from location to location along Penn Avenue. Our coverage will continue live in just a few moments.
And we wanted to pass this along, too. If you witnessed today's events and feel that you need someone to talk to, therapists from the Allegheny Mental Health Associates are in our studios right now to take your call. The number is area code 412-243-6000. Again, 243-6000. These are professionals who may be able to help you deal with the grief and the shock of what's been a very terrifying day in our community.
And maybe even for kids who just saw it live on television. We do at this point want to bring the late word on Monday's school shooting in Michigan. A man believed to be an uncle of the 6-year-old suspect has turned himself in. Liz Cho has the latest from Flint.
In an emergency child custody hearing this afternoon, a judge ruled the boy's parents were guilty of child neglect and removed the first grader and his 2 siblings from the home, giving temporary custody to the boy's aunt.
I feel bad about what is happening. I'm very sorry for what had happened to the other child and her family. I'm not a bad father.
Investigators are vowing not to hold the 6-year-old boy responsible for Tuesday's shooting. However, they are questioning a man in connection with the gun used to kill the boy's first-grade classmate. Investigators have not yet identified the man, but he is believed to be a 19-year-old friend of the boy's uncle, Sir Marcus Winfrey. The boy lived with Winfrey in this rundown home, which police searched Tuesday night.
Well, this young boy appears not to have many advantages in life. He appears to be raised in a house with stolen weapons and guns. We have learned that the mother was just recently evicted from her home.
Police say the boy walked into Buell Elementary School with a .32 caliber handgun and allegedly shot and killed 6-year-old Kayla Rolland in front of 5 other classmates and their teacher.
The kid, when she turned around, he said, "I don't like you," and he shot her in the neck. When I was doing my work, I heard something go bang and I just started crying because I knew it was a gun.
The flag outside a school is flying at half-staff, while parents and children try to cope with their anger and grief.
It could have been anybody. What if there'd been more bullets? What if the boy didn't like the rest of the kids in the class?
People have been coming here to the school throughout the day to leave flowers in memory of 6-year-old Kayla Rowland. A memorial service is also planned for her tomorrow night. Liz Cho, ABC News, Mount Morris Township, Michigan.
A day of difficult news and a lot more news to cover yet.
Right now, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, more on the Wilkinsburg shooting, the latest from the scene. Tonya Caruso talks with people trapped outside of their homes.
And we are going to check that DiNardo forecast, too. A miserable day on the Weather Watch. It's been a busy day for Sky 4. Joe's up next with a complete forecast in 2 minutes.
Introducing a new website that puts your entire community in the palm of your hand. ThePittsburghChannel.com, your home for everything local.
Time to check in now with our chief meteorologist, Joe DiNardo. What a dreary day, both in the news and in the weather.
Oh, boy, news for sure. Weather also. Ceilings started to drop a bit this afternoon around 2, 3 o'clock as we were coming back. And as we look now at Sky 4 overlooking the city, our temperatures, despite the dreary day and the rain, was still well above the normal. We started it all off this morning with a low of 41 degrees. Now, this afternoon before the front, it reached 58 degrees. Normals are 42 and 25, so that put Pittsburgh 16 degrees above those normals. Currently, International Airport, sky condition is cloudy. The ceiling is based at 3,900 feet, visibility 10 miles in light rain. Our current temperature down to 54 degrees, humidity 71%, a west wind 18, gusting to 24 miles per hour, barometric pressure 29.78 inches of mercury on the rise. Satellite loop, here's that one bank of clouds moving through our area now. Here's the next storm center developing in through Colorado. This one looks like it's going to stay south of Pittsburgh. As we take a look at the composite radar summary, activity through the Four Corners and southern Rockies, down through Texas a little bit. But you'll see most of this activity has now passed to our east. But there's still a disturbance aloft that's moving through, and that's providing some shower activity in the area right now. You can see that major bank of cloud cover moving eastward, but even with these clouds, there are radar echoes. We'll take a look at the latest on pinpoint Doppler radar live. You can see the activity in western sections of Allegheny County, through Moon, on in through Swickley, Bellevue, Evanworth, and up north in through the North Hills, North A School District as well, and North Hills. That's all moving towards the east, then a break, more coming up on Beaver Falls, and a little bit around Washington, Pennsylvania. So there'll be some sprinkles and light showers go through here over the next 3 to 4 hour period. And then by morning, that could become mixed with a few flurries. Temperatures, 54 International, 60 down at Fairmont, West Virginia, Oakland, Garrett County, Maryland, 50, and 48 up through Meadville, Youngsville, as the front continues to sweep to the south and to the east. Colder air moving in through Ohio. Temperatures, Chicago's down to 47, Madison, Wisconsin, 35, International Falls now down to 28 degrees. This looks a little more like winter, at least late winter. Even Moosonee, James Bay, 32. That's kind of chilly, but normally they should be running about 12 to 14 above zero. Very warm to the south, the flow pattern aloft out of the northwest, and that'll turn us colder overnight and for the better part of tomorrow. Forecast for tonight, few sprinkles. It'll be breezy and colder, and even a flurry by morning, the low 35 degrees. Now, the next 24 hours, the front that's going through us now will continue to move eastward. High pressure will be moving down from the northwestern lakes, and with northwesterly flow, we're going to have cloud cover in here tomorrow. We'll call it mostly cloudy. Also, with northwesterly flow, there's a distinct possibility of a few flurries around. So tomorrow, unlike today, much chillier. Forecast for Thursday, mostly cloudy. It'll be breezy, even a snow flurry possible. Tomorrow's high near 40 degrees. On Thursday night, now we get back to where we should be. Clearing and cold. The overnight low by Friday morning, 24 degrees. And on Friday, start out with plenty of sunshine in the morning. Some increasing cloudiness late day. The high on Friday, 45 degrees. Take a look at the extended for the weekend. Weekend's looking pretty good on Saturday. Even though that storm center will move south, look for intervals of clouds and some sunshine Saturday, 47. A little more sunshine, that could be close to 50. On Sunday, partly cloudy and warmer, up to 55 degrees. And on Monday, look at that, Partly sunny, warmer, 63 degrees. Where has winter gone?
Who cares?
I care.
That's what I say.
I need more snow for the winter forecast, but as you can see, it's going to be above normal.
I'll stick with her editorial.
There you go.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, back to the major story we're following this evening, continuing coverage of the shooting rampage in Wilkinsburg. And to mark it out, we had 1 shot at the suspect's home, 1 at the Burger King, 3 at the McDonald's, and we understand that 2 of those are dead. All of this began in the 11 o'clock hour.
That's right. At least a half a dozen separate police departments arrived on the scene, as well as federal agents from the FBI. Joining them, dozens of EMS crews. You can just see the ambulances here on Penn Avenue. The entire street, really a sea of lights for most of the afternoon. Jim Parsons joins us now with more for us. Jim?
You know, it's so difficult in a situation like this, Michelle, to make any sense of something like this. So at this point, I don't think we can. I think all we can do is try and tell folks what happened here. And what happened here was quite simply a rampage by a man who just kept firing at people. You mentioned earlier that it started at his home. It was in an apartment building on Wood Street where he apparently had an argument with some maintenance men and just opened fire, shooting 1 there. And then the situation proceeded down Penn Avenue. And it started in the Woodview apartments on Wood Street and then proceeded to several fast food restaurants, if we can go to some videotape now, down Penn Avenue, first at the Burger King, then it went to McDonald's. 1 person shot at the Burger King, 3 shot at the McDonald's. Police, and then the gunman ended up inside of an office building. Police SWAT crews from both the county and the city were on the scene all day. And inside that office building where he was holed up was, and as you see that you're seeing the suspect right there, inside the office building where he was holed up was a daycare center and also some senior citizen centers. Police continue to explore just what Ronald Taylor's motives might have been. There is a question of where also he got his weapon. City Council President Bob O'Connor arrived on the scene just before Ronald Taylor surrendered to Pittsburgh police and Wilkinsburg police. And O'Connor was there, he said, when ATF agents, federal agents, got a very important phone call. Tell us what you heard.
Actually, I was right at the building when they were escorting the actor, into the car. And a ATF agent came right over and just got a call from the White House. Wanted to know where this gun came from. They gave them their card and phone. They wanted to go to the Wilkinsburg police to make sure they didn't lose the facts. Again, I think it's a major issue where these people are getting the guns, whether they're stealing them, buying them illegally. So it's very important to all of us to get the guns out of the wrong hands.
So you can see this investigation extends far beyond the Wilkinsburg and Pittsburgh police departments and Allegheny County police. All were involved, the sheriff's department, not to mention other police departments involved in this investigation. Other questions behind this shooting, as we reported earlier, are possible some racial motives involved, and we'll get into all that. We'll explore all of this coming up at 6 o'clock.
All right, Jim, thank you very much. Studies show that children who experience violence can be impacted for life.
I had to think about that as you saw the kids being let out of the building in the daycare center. Tonight in Pittsburgh, a new project to get kids like those to help them. It is called Safe Start, and it is a network of experts and community helpers who are reaching out to help kids who are victims of violence and kids who see violence. The honorary chairwoman of Safe Start is Ellen Roddy, wife of the Allegheny County executive.
I certainly hope it can help. We've got to do something. We have got to stop our abuse of children, either through them witnessing violence or abuse in the homes.
And again, if you did witness today's events, whether in person or even on television, if you feel the need to talk to someone, therapists from the Allegheny Mental Health Associates are in our studios right now to take your call. The number is area code 412-243-6000. These professionals can offer help and support to anybody dealing with the grief or shock of what has been certainly a very terrifying day in our community.
And as you can imagine, the entire Wilkinsburg area was affected by this today. As police surrounded the Wilkins house, several streets in the area were shut down, leaving many people with no place to go. Tonya Caruso has that part of the story. She joins us live with more. Tonya.
Michelle, to give you an idea what people here were dealing with, when we first got to the scene, we were allowed to pull into the Crossroads parking lot. That is right next door to the McDonald's parking lot. It did not take long for police to begin moving everybody back, and within moments we were all behind the police line, including lots of people who live in this area that had no place to go. As police, ambulance, and the SWAT teams made their way to the scene, dozens of people gathered to see what was happening.
Come on up into the building here. We want to get you out of the area.
But dozens of others had no choice but to stay there. They were being kept away from their homes.
I can't go by.
You can't go by.
No, they were going to walk off.
Among those waiting, Denise Harris, who was frantically trying to reach her husband and son.
I just want to get home. I live like Kelly and West. So it's like a 3-minute walk. I know I'm tired. I just want my family. I'd rather be in the house with my family than be out. I'm sorry.
So I have a lot of friends in there, you know, close friends, and I'm worried about the residents also, you know. So, yeah, I'm worried.
Connie Moore and Lucretia Scott work at the Wilkins house. They had left the building moments before the gunman entered. Not knowing what was going on, they tried to get back in, but couldn't.
They just said we couldn't come into the building, and the doors were locked to go home.
A few feet away, Micah Van Gogh stood worrying about his fiancée.
My fiancée's on the floor. She's on the 4th floor. I'm hoping it's okay up there.
Moments later, the first of the people in the building made it out safely. A frightening ordeal, but all just happy they're alive.
Thank God that we're safe. Every day, you never know when you might be at risk.
So a very long afternoon for everyone in this community. When the word began to come that they did catch the gunman, people here very relieved, and again, people here just said they couldn't wait to get back into their homes. Live in Wilkinsburg, Tonya Caruso. Michelle, back to you.
Okay, Tonya, thanks.
Our coverage of the Wilkinsburg shooting and the suspect's arrest and the huge scare for the neighbors continues at 6 o'clock. Coming up, more on the kids and violence, plus Nina Pineda on Ronald Taylor's demeanor. What was his attitude? We'll hear from the witnesses about that, plus the very latest on what police are saying, all live coming up at 6. And Action News will now continue in 2 minutes.
We'll be right back.
Action News is making a change, and it starts with you. We call it taking action for you.
You wanted to know what was really going on in this neighborhood.
Consumers, don't let this happen. And this is a health concern that we checked into the problem.
Now, new ways to get you involved in the stories we cover and how we cover them, giving you a voice.
A lot of parents call.
And an Action News crew is headed to the...
Answering your questions.
Tonight, we have the answers.
Action News is taking action for you.
Healthcast now. You know, last year, Americans adopted thousands of children from orphanages in Russia, Romania, Bulgaria, Latvia, and China.
And you know, those people have the best of intentions, but all too often they are finding the children they bring home, hoping to love, are disturbed, detached, and unreachable. Here's our medical editor, Marilyn Brooks.
Michelle, people are spending upwards of $25,000 on agency and document fees, drivers, translators, and travel. They come home thinking they have a healthy infant or toddler, only to find the child is emotionally, physically, and mentally delayed. It's a nightmare few are warned about or prepared for.
To an outsider, Andra Bergman is a beautiful 7-year-old with all the toys and advantages she could possibly want. But it has taken more than 5 years of very hard work to get her to love, to trust, to appreciate.
But it was just awful. I mean, she has spit on children, she's pulled their hair, she scratched them.
Sally Bergman adopted Andra in St. Petersburg, Russia in 1994. Andra, 19 months old, had been abandoned by her mother in hospital. She was institutionalized with no one to love, touch, or care for her.
Anybody give you any warning? Any?
No, no preparation as far as issues I could be facing, no. It was take them home and love them and they'll catch up.
But Andra didn't catch up. Her physical, cognitive, and psychological development were severely delayed. It's called reactive attachment disorder.
He came in kicking and screaming.
The issues are control and trust, and they show up in many ways. The kids are superficially engaging, charming, but they lack eye contact. They're indiscriminately affectionate with strangers. They can't give or receive parental affection. Inappropriately demanding and clingy, they can't learn from mistakes. They're destructive to themselves and others, especially animals. They're also preoccupied with fire, blood, and gore.
Attachment disorder is not a problem that is peculiar to international adoption. Au contraire, it can and does happen right here in America. But at least American parents have agencies and services to tap into. It's not that simple with international adoptions.
The Bergmans had to find speech, occupational, and psychotherapists for Andra. It cost thousands of dollars, lots of tears, and frustration.
She's much more in control of her emotions. She can control her her anger, and she can express it better now. She's had a lot of help and training with that.
It's too late for Sally Bergman. She and Antra rode the trail the hard way. But she says it's not too late for thousands of Americans who are heading for international adoptions. Her advice, learn or live a nightmare.
Now, the Bergmans went through a Pittsburgh adoption agency that failed to give them all the facts about what to expect and the horrors of institutionalized children. If you want to know more, if you're getting ready to adopt, check our website at thepittsburghchannel.com. I have some information there for you.
So there is some help.
There is some help and there's some hope, but you got to be careful.
Thanks, Marilyn.
Mm-hmm. Thanks. More health news tonight about testosterone in a gel. The FDA has approved the first topical gel to treat men with low testosterone levels. It is called Androgel 1%. Symptoms of low testosterone include diminished libido, lack of energy, depression, and reduced lean body mass, and may lead to osteoporosis and even bone fracture. Androgel will be in pharmacies by early this summer.
Well, I guess nearly, 4 days of sunshine? We're kind of spoiled.
I guess we are. Joe's going to be up next with a return to winter. It's in the forecast. ActionCam showing the gray skies over the point today as our daylight hours do extend each day. Take a quick look at Wall Street. Our news continues in 2 minutes. 24-hour DiNardo Weather Watch time, and I guess you're saying you don't miss winter.
No.
I wonder if it'll return. No.
About 24 hours worth. Kind of a dreary day today, but we will have a little colder temperatures tomorrow night, especially tomorrow night and early Friday. Right now, take a look at our neighborhood viewer net, and today we're looking at Northgate Junior High School in the Northgate School District. And as you can see, their temperature currently 51 degrees, humidity up at 100%. The winds are out of the northwest now with a frontal passage about 2 o'clock this afternoon. They've been going from 10 up to 15 miles per hour. Officially, International Airport picked up 0.14 of an inch of rainfall, but as you can see at Northgate, they picked up 0.64 of an inch of rain for the day as the showers move through. Current temperatures 54 at International, 59 Morgantown, Parkersburg in at 61 degrees. Here's the flow pattern aloft, 18,000 feet. Our winds are going to be shifting around to the northwest for about 24 to 36 hours. That's going to turn us colder. And then for the weekend, this storm center out west is going to gradually move eastward and shift our winds back to the southwest. And that'll start moderating temperatures here for the weekend, especially coming in here on Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. But by Friday, look for some morning sunshine, then increasing cloudiness during the day on Friday. The high up to 45 degrees. On Saturday, forecast, as you can see, we'll have intervals of clouds and sunshine. The high on Saturday, 47 degrees, and on Sunday, partly cloudy and warmer. Sunday's high way up, 55 degrees. Monday's up to 63, so it's going to start to get warm once again. Meteorologist Stephen Cropper will be up at 6 o'clock with the complete forecast, along with our school visit. That's it. Here's Scott and Michelle.
All right, thank you, Joe. So it's going to warm up pretty soon.
Good.
Now, you've seen of all of those 10-10 long-distance ads, real savings or a ripoff?
Up next, the feds demand some truth in advertising.
Down Pittsburgh streets and behind closed doors.
Why won't you answer questions about where the money is, sir?
Team 4 investigations on Action News, taking action for you.
You use county employees for political work?
No, I do not.
Asking the tough questions, exposing the truth.
What we found was disturbing.
Team 4 investigations on Action News, taking action for you.
What exactly are you doing when it's not snowing?
See what they uncover next.
We've been watching you guys.
Think about this. Are you paying more for the long-distance phone service that was supposed to save you big money?
That wouldn't seem fair. The federal government today announced new guidelines to make sure that ads that lure customers to these calling plans don't leave them answering for unexpected charges. Michael Gargiula takes a look at how they have to change their pitch.
The ads promise you'll pay 10, 9, or even just 7 cents a minute for calls, sometimes by connecting with a 1010 number that lets you dial around your regular long-distance provider. But those low rates often don't include other service charges that boost your bill.
Too many companies are taking advantage of this confusion by promoting services with deceptive advertising practices.
Federal officials complain that ads like these hide the true cost of the service in the fine print, which they say you often need a magnifying glass to read. Now, in this case, you would find that in order to get the 5-cent per minute calls, you first have to pay a $25 sign-up fee.
They either can't read it or they don't notice it, and they don't realize that there are important conditions on the claim that's trumpeted in the very large print.
Today, the federal government took action, settling charges with MCI over concerns with its ad campaign and announcing new guidelines for dial-around and other long-distance advertising. They must be truthful in comparing their cost, disclose any restrictions, and be clear and readable. Industry groups think it will clear up the problem.
Every industry's got its bad apples, and we think these guidelines will help bring those bad apples back into line.
And hopefully it will make it easier for consumers to know what charges they'll ring up before they make the call. In Washington, Michael Gargiulo, Channel 4 Action News.
Congress is also cracking down on misleading ads. A New York congresswoman unveiled legislation today that would require phone companies to disclose rates and charges in all their advertising and allow consumers a way of opting out of the dial-around services when they're initially making a call. All right, coming up on the 6 o'clock broadcast, continuing coverage of today's shootings in Wilkinsburg.
Hear from the police negotiator who was able to talk the suspect into giving up peacefully. His interview and much more new on Action News at 6.
5 pinpoint Doppler 4, the power you need for our winter weather.